Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Procrastinator's Pitstop. I am sitting here with another amazing guest for you today. We are sitting here with Be Jensen. B is a certified leadership coach, speaker, and trainer who empowers individuals and teams to unlock their full potential, navigate career transitions, and lead with clarity, confidence, and purpose. B, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for having me today. I'm so looking forward to having this conversation with you.
Oh, we have a lot of interesting ground to cover today, and I know that we're gonna have a lot of fun with it. Before we dive into it, we do like to have an icebreaker on the show, and the question for you today is: which cartoon character do you resonate with the most?
Oh, that's easy. Well, I love her. I love her because she's so impish and then she's so naughty sometimes, but in a playful way. She's not really vicious in that sense, but just like, to play tricks on Peter Pan sometimes and his friends. But the other thing that I like about her is the fact that she throws fairy dust. And for me, I kind of compare that to being coach, where in a world where people feel burned out, they're at the point of desolation or desperation because they feel stuck in their jobs or probably feel that there's no future for them in the current situation they have. As a coach, it's sort of like the role I have is really to sprinkle some fairy dust to help them see the light. And there's hope in that. No matter what circumstances we have, there's always that hope that for every problem, there's always a solution. And in darkness, there's always light, which is what Tinkerbell is. And also, Tinker comes from the world of tinkering. Like, I think when I was reading about her, like that, she tinkers on pots and pans and all that. And I think sort of like when you're a coach, you sort of like tinker and fix the little cracks that there is and help people fix those cracks so that they can fully function again as a pot. But most of all, I think it's her playfulness. It's like she's so childlike in many ways. And I wanna bring that out because I think when we become children, when we were children, everything was possible for us, right? There was so much hope in the world. We could be anything, do anything. And sometimes as we grow up, things and experiences we have, it just tears it down, tears our hope, tears our belief, that we start to build walls and filters about how we see the world. And Tinkerbell reminds me, no, there's light in this world and we can be instruments of throwing fairy dust on people, especially when they're in darkness. So that's why I love her.
I love that. I love that so much. Thank you for sharing. You're right. Sprinkling a little bit of hope here and there, and helping people, fly off to that second star in the night, straight on to morning. I think you're right there. And, just navigating that. Uh, it's pretty difficult today sometimes. That's why we have coaches like yourself as well. Sliding easily into it. How would you define procrastination be, and what does it mean to you personally?
Procrastination is just a delaying tactic, delaying ourselves from facing a task that's overwhelming. We overwhelm, and once we feel overwhelmed about the task at hand, we find a way to delay that because we don't want to face the fears or the feelings that come with dealing with the task. So those feelings could be feelings of stress and overwhelmed because we probably don't know how to deal with or how to do it well. Or we probably overwhelm ourselves because we think I have to do so much because I expect myself to do the best job at this task, the expectation of being perfect at doing something. So that stems from that. Or the fear of failing at it. Okay, because it's too much and I just want to avoid because it causes me too much stress. And so for me personally, those are the experiences I've had with procrastination. Whenever a task seems overwhelming, I find myself easily distracted by things that are easier to do than dealing with the real task. And it's not very helpful because oftentimes because of that procrastination, we find ourselves rushing or pressuring yourself at the last minute to finally get the job done. And at that moment, we feel an even higher level of pressure because now you ran out of time. And so I experienced that, and that causes tremendous amount of stress at that point. and it's not very healthy mentally, emotionally, and physically. It takes a toll on the body. I think it's important to face things that are more difficult to do first, because once you've faced those tasks and dealt with them and really handled them way ahead of time and faced them, everything else that comes is so much easier. So, one of the ways I deal with that when I catch myself procrastinating again is, number one is to break it down in smaller chunks so that I can do this. The question I ask myself is, what can I do? Either one or three things I can do today that could move me forward to that towards that bigger task. And so then give myself credit for having done those three tasks. Then in that sense, it becomes more manageable and less overwhelming. And then give myself also enough time ahead of time to be able to complete those small tasks that builds towards the overwhelming task. It, because once they come to in smaller chunks, it's less overwhelming and they're more manageable. I also realized that half the time procrastination um, is also comes from lack of time management. And so I tend to look back and see Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Effective People, where he uses his quadrants where identifying what's really urgent and important and learn to manage that. And so what I described before in terms of one way to manage that is to handle it in smaller, manageable tasks and chunks of work. And then also schedule yourself, manage your time well so that you give yourself enough time to really complete the task in a timely but efficient manner. Also, another way to overcome procrastination in my case is that I become aware when I distract myself with things that are not important or not urgent, like looking through my cell phone and looking through the web and, things. It's easy to get distracted with social media and emails and all that. So try my best to avoid that and focus on the task at hand first, especially the three tasks that I have lined up. And then another way that I should avoid is also it's very easy for people to impose on your time. Sometimes it's not really your priority, but somebody says, I want you to do this because it's important to them. The art of defining your own boundaries and saying no is really one way you can also help yourself, because these distractions that happen because of demands of other people on your time is really what keeps you from fulfilling what you're supposed to be doing for yourself and achieving the goals you've set for yourself. So those are some of the things that I've learned in the process. I'm aware of I'm a work in progress. I'm not saying I have all the answers, but and then there's the other task of it's important, but it's not urgent. So, learning new things, learning new skills. I could schedule that at some other time that's more manageable when there's nothing pressing that I have to deal with. In that case, then I find myself being more productive, being more aligned, and knowing that I know what needs to get done for today and give myself credit for that at the end of the day so that I'm ready to face the next three tasks the next day. I hope that answers your question, Chris.
No, it does. Thank you so much for outlining those things. You've got a lot of good things in there. You've got the boundaries. You've got the breaking tasks into manageable steps, and then also a way of prioritizing those tasks. Right. I'm curious. Have you ever heard of the concept of a to be list?
To be list, yes. That's why my name is B. It's not by chance, it's by choice. My original name is very long, so that's why I use the word to my name B is because I decided it's important to also connect with who my authentic self is. And I hope that's what you're talking about. Is it?
Oh no, it is. So at least the way that I've heard it is the to be list is you take your core values and you focus on those, and you say, okay, is this task going to move me forward in terms of being, let's say my goal is to be a better father or a better caregiver, right? Then on my task list I may have do the laundry, take out the trash, and do the dishes. Well, okay. So what do I do first? My to-be list, if I'm being a better father, is, oh wait, the laundry, because I know that she has to go to a soccer tournament early in the morning, so I should do that first, and then the trash, and then the dishes, right? So I guess sometimes it helps to help prioritize things, but what's your take on
All the time, it helps to prioritize things because the question I ask myself is, who am I being if I respond to this situation this way? And is it the person I want to become? Or who am I being when I responded to it negatively? And is this bringing me or helping me to become the person that I want to be or the best version of who I want to be? And the same way that, prioritizing your family, that resonates with me, Chris. When my husband and my family, my children always come first, right? And my sisters and my brothers always come first. So if you don't mind, I'd like to share two incidents where I made that decision of who I'm going to be. That really, really, really defines who I am. Only because I think in moments where life throws us a curveball, that's when your values are being put to the test. And that's when you make those very important life decisions of what's really a top priority for you, what do you really value the most, and who you're going to be in this situation. And one example of that is in February, I got a call from my country, the Philippines, that my sister had brain cancer. And without a doubt, I was willing to drop the business because it was more important for me to be with my sister and be a source of support because among my values, faith comes first and family comes next. And for me, that was important to be a source of encouragement and support. She couldn't eat, she couldn't walk, she couldn't talk. And, that could have been the end of her life. I don't know. But being with her and just being with family was more important. So I was there, spent almost 2 months with her. After daily prayers, daily encouragement, daily laughter with her, and also helping her envision what she would hope for, like imagining herself being with her children again, holding hands, having a good time, laughing, maybe drinking wine, going to the beach the way they dream of, or traveling together, just helping to envision the things, the possibilities. And she could have brought a smile to her face. And I said, and then my other sister also encouraged her and say, if you learn to walk again, we're going to treat you for a free trip to Greece. And so giving her that way of hope and encouragement. So every day she started to walk and take the walker and started to strengthen herself and encourage herself to walk. Every day she tried to eat, encourage herself to eat. And every day she tried to stretch a little bit till her strength came back. I came back, Chris, and the best news I ever got is that they videotape her walking all by herself without the walker and without even the help of the nursing aide. And for me, being a support for my sister at the moment the crisis was more important. And it's amazing how it creates the energy of hope to overcome challenges like that. And that for me is an affirmation that being the best person you can be, especially in support for someone else, is top priority. And do I agree with you? That's more important. That's more aligned with your values. I'm sorry for the long-winded answer.
No, thank you so much for sharing, and sharing that story. And it's true. Fairly similar situation that I know someone going through, that their sister is well, their sister's doctors have said, and she's on the other side of the country and stuff, and like what, and she's torn because she's close to her family and things, but you know she's torn between her obligations here, and her big thing is, oh, she went back, what good could she actually do? What would she actually do by being there? And your story actually highlights that sometimes the best thing you can do is just be there and be that support.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. And even in ordinary situations of our day to day lives, we're busy doing work probably in front of the computer, right? And a family member says, "Would you like to watch TV with me?" Sometimes we said, "Later, later." We tend to put them away, put them aside. I said, "Oh," then something in me says, "No, stop. I thought your family is more important." Immediately, I would close the computer or the laptop and say, "Okay, what time are we watching the movie?" I think those moments are priceless. And there's an undescribable sense of peace that you have in just knowing you are where you're supposed to be and with your loved ones.
As you're speaking, B, it comes to mind that with all our modern conveniences and technology, where I don't think this is intentional by any means, but I think we are consistently moving towards making it easier to choose to put those off, like those family connections to later. Because just going to your TV example, and I'm going back to when I was a kid. Granted, it wasn't the world's most stellar family time, but every Friday night at 7 o'clock, we had this show that we watched on TV together. And so now it got me thinking, just as you were saying that, with all the conveniences, we now have stream on demand. We now have this, so we can technically, oh, I want to watch the movie now with you, mom or dad or whoever, and you're like, no, 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 it's on demand. We can watch it whenever. We can watch it tonight. We can watch it tomorrow. So, do you think that while I don't think it's intentional, do you think that these sorts of things are only making it, I don't know, I guess more difficult to have those boundaries?
Yeah, it's just like the irony of what you just said is that the TV show is just available on demand. Yeah, but are you available to cater to the demands of your family the moment they ask for it? That's one thing we forget. So you're right. It's easy to just get to turn a deaf ear to even our own closest family members because of the conveniences of technology that technology offers. So, like you said, listening is key. Listening not just to the words, but listening to what does my family member need at the moment when they're asking you to join them for watching television tonight. So, listening for that, the unspoken words, the unspoken, unexpressed need.
I like that, and it reminds me of what another coach said to me before, and it goes back to that active listening, like you were saying, is you know does this person need to be heard? Do they need to be helped, or do they need to be held? Because whenever somebody's talking to us, it's one of those three things. Do they need to be heard, as in like validated, whatever? Do they need to be helped? Is there something you need to do? Or do they just need to be held, which is just you sitting there and letting them do whatever it is they're processing, I guess, right?
Yeah, and those that's great. The three H's to ask yourself: the heard, to be hugged, and what was the last one?
Yeah, well, it was heard, helped, and held, but could be heard, helped, and hugged.
Yes, that reminds me also of I was listening to another podcast, and the gentleman was saying that he had a struggle with his daughter, and it got started to get into like a yelling argument in the car, and then the daughter stepped out full of anger and banged the door, and his immediate reaction to get out of the car and also confront his daughter. But as he approached the daughter, he decided at the last minute to just hug his daughter. And the daughter broke down and cried. She just broke down and cried because all she needed was the assurance that her dad still loves her in spite of their differences of opinion. And that was enough. And the rest of the trip, she was quiet. It was calm and peaceful. It was amazing. So it's actually aligns with what you just said.
I love that, and and it goes back to that connection too, right? And it's not our fault. It's not the average person's fault either that they're distracted or overwhelmed. I mean, when you think about it, the difference between, say, myself and my daughter, I mean, sure, I had to know a bunch of things when I was going to school. I had to know rules. I had to know not to be bullied. I didn't know not to bully. I had to know, any number of things. But now just the number of things my daughter has to know when she goes to school, which wasn't on my list, like, inclusivity programs and, she has to worry about political correctness because, she can't describe things in the wrong way, right? So there's so much more pressure, and I think that that leads more to distractions now too.
I agree. I agree. They're so young, and it's too much to ask of a young kid to really be responsible for all of this and be responsive, appropriately responsive to all of these demands, rules, and laws and regulations of society has put upon them. And it kind of could be very constrictive and limiting in a sense because, like, sometimes they could actually get lost in the process too. Who am I in all of this? I can't do this. I can't do that. But I'm still defining who I am. I'm still a young kid. Don't I have the freedom to explore what I am able to do, what I can do? Yeah, I do. I do understand, the restrictions to maintain respect for other human beings or could be different. There are ways about that without sacrificing the person's ability to express who they are, without being too constrictive and without taking away their right and a freedom to also explore what they can express and explore who they really are, their authentic selves. Because sometimes it could go to one extreme because it's the law and it's the only thing that's right and the only thing to be. And then that that can be stifling for a young teenager.
Well, it certainly is, and one of the things uh, that comes to mind immediately is like all those games that I'm sure I'm sure you played them too in grade school. You had Red Rover, tag, the parachute with the ball, and like all those games have been removed because they've been deemed dangerous or aggressive in some way, right? It's like you said, we went too far from one extreme to another.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And just like I came from the third world country, Chris, right? Where when I was from grade 1 to grade 3, we had tasks to do, but we enjoyed it because we were given tasks to sweep in front of the school, and then we would make nests of them and we would play with that. And that was enough to give us joy and just play with what is it? Fallen leaves? Nothing, no digital toy, no electronics there, just having fun with each other and having real authentic laughter. I wonder if if these kids really are missing out on so much that could be more authentic, more real for them, and really that would help them a long way in terms of enjoying being young. Because it seems they're being accelerated to be more mature than they're ready to be because of you found expectations society put on them. And
Well,
if I may add, sometimes because we're just human beings, there's a stage of emotional development that we have to go through that sometimes these kids don't have a chance to really come to terms with or to deal with, to learn how to deal with because they're being expected to really deal with all those pressures and all the new ways that society expects us to be right now.
well, one of the things with that as well is that they are growing up faster, and it's technology's fault. No, they're well, I mean, it's true because they've actually done studies where when a young person gets a cell phone or a tablet or whatever at a certain age, they're actually biologically aging faster than the counterparts that didn't. And it's evolutionary thing, right? So that they can be ready to survive whatever it is. Oh, middle school, but not to go out there. So it is that, and to the fact that even Australia banned social media interactions for anyone who was under the age of 16.
Wow. Yeah. 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 That might be a wise thing to do. I've seen couples who were in the same living room, but instead of talking to each other, they were texting each other. They're in the same room. And that's the effect of social media, I guess. What happened to real human conversations? where you see each other and see your expressions and just so maybe that's not Australia is on the right track for all of this.
I mean, I've seen what you've said too. You know, I was out in a, I don't remember when exactly it was, but I remember going and being in the bar area of the restaurant.
Uh-huh.
And there were several couples, not just one couple, there were several couples who were right next to each other and they were just doing their own thing. At best, and you know, I'm going to call myself out here. Yes, I was I don't know what possessed me to do it, but I did a little bit of stuff I shouldn't have done, and you know, sort of was like, well, what the heck is so interesting that everybody's doing? So, again, I'm not condoning this behavior, but you know, one couple was actually texting each other. Another couple, one was watching a hockey game and she was watching golf or something, something completely different. And I just wondered, like, how. I mean, I understand that there's a peace and there's a tranquility that comes with being able to be with another person and do separate things and still have your own interest. But when you're actually sitting there with it, you know.
We saw that recently. My husband and I were in Red Lobster, and there was a younger couple. They walked in, they placed their order, and the rest of the time when they're waiting for the food, they were they were on their cell phone. Why the heck did they even go out on a date when all they could have dated was a cell phone? It's so funny, but I guess that's the way things are today. It just saddens me because, like I said, the art of just having a conversation, because having a conversation involves, like you said, being present and being aware of the person in front of you, whatever it is, and listening to what they're sharing, and vice versa, you know. And that I think is the dynamics of really growing in that relationship, knowing that there's someone there for you who sees you, who hears you, who listens to you, and understands you, and vice versa. And I think that's a lost art today because they think that phone or the social media is the answer. And I wonder, I wonder how they deal with challenges. Do they also go to social media and find the answer when there's tension in the relationship? How do they deal with it? So I'm just wondering. Because even if you have conflicts and tension in a relationship, whether you're a married couple, whether it's with your children, whether it's colleague, it requires also an intentional conversation and communication with the intent of being able to try to understand the other person's perspective through listening, being present, and just being aware that I wonder if that art has been lost. And I wonder if there's a lot of tension today because of the unresolved issues and pent up emotions that have not been articulated because people have lost that art.
Well, the communication is definitely an art that many people are missing. We get started on that. You know, B, it's been a great conversation. The time has really flown by. I want to be respectful of everyone's time here. Is there anything that you feel we should have covered that we didn't cover today, or anything you feel I should have asked?
Well, I just feel just that there is tremendous value in each and every one of us as a human being, and a tremendous dignity that needs to be respected. And part of that respect is just being present and to hear the person and recognize that person. Before you grab that phone, just ask yourself, what does this person next to me need, and how can I listen and be more aware of this person? And what can I do to make this relationship grow into a more mutually respectful and maybe a more, let's say, more meaningful relationship as opposed to just another social media friend. So that's all I can say. Connect and communicate.
I love that. Such a powerful note to end the show on. Thank you so much for your time again today, B. Just before we go, what's the best way for our listeners to get in touch with you?
My website is life-career-transformation.com. You can find me there, and there's a free gift there. You search it again, life-career-transformation.com. And you can also email me at b@life-career-transformation. There, in my website, you could also, if you wish to talk to me further, there's also chance for us to get to know each other. You can set up a session with me and have a discovery session and see um, how we can deal with habits of thinking, habits of behaving in terms that will help you overcome procrastination or any blocks that keep you from moving forward and living your life fully. And again, Chris, thank you so much for this time to be with you. I really appreciate this conversation.
It was a blast having you on the show. A lot of great insights. Really appreciate it. To all our listeners, don't worry about writing that down. We will have that in the show notes for you, so you'll be able to find it easily. And once again, thank you for tuning in. And just remember, if you can't find that motivation or inspiration for yourself today, maybe just go out and try to be that motivation and inspiration for someone else. And we'll see you again next time.